Okay, for the beginning of this class, I will talk briefly about the poetry and the traditional wheat today, and then we will continue with the one of the poems by John Donne. It is, as you know, very clear that the primary aim of Elizabethan poetry was not the outpouring of emotion, whatever effects of simplicity and passion may be found, in its products of this type of poetry. It was actually a conscious art, and in method, their main concern was on the rhetoric, or we can say that it is rhetorical in its method, and above all, to oppose form and order upon experience, working through the senses, the emotions, and the reason, and directed at the will. Wit and the play of mind and logical development were therefore not foreign, to it. Convention also were accepted as something that is desirable and something that is natural. It indicates that it is fluent, also the language, and the regulation of the verse is so easy. And it is, we can say that, very notable success, where true feeling informs the idealistic conventions and the rhetorical craftsmanship, and where the stylization is related to a way of life. She started actually at this age, and we can find some of examples of the older manner were in existence when John Donne began to write. Such typically Elizabethan works as those of sonnet sequence and the Ovidian tale of classic mythology were barely established. Many poets we can find, like Ariel style, well into the reign of James I, and some even beyond. She kept up something in their writing. Dryden, we can find as the new poet of this time. Daniel also, Spencer, the type of Spencerian and the other forms that we can find. They are, in fact, the chief model, of the time. And we can find very simple and obvious emotions developed one at a time and expressed in a lucid and type of regular style. It gives the most effective opportunities to the poets and to the composers. The limitations are also very clear and obvious, and reading them we can find some Elizabethan lyric achieved its extraordinary freshness, and in the early of the 17th century, Companion was developing new delicacy in its treatment. Verse of this kind needs musical setting to complete, you see, the effect. We can find that development of, you see, the verse towards its freedom and flexibility, and in the vogue of, you see, the satire which produced in the work of some of the writers like Hall and Marston. But outside the agent of such changes and the dominant molders of the new tradition were John Donne and Ben Jonson. Donne's originality was more spectacular. As far as we can talk about it, it appeared at once. Included specimens of conventional Elizabethan verse. They have not survived. His works must have included, beside most of the satires and elegies, a number of what were later collected under the titles Songs and Sonnets. Now, the movement of this kind of, you see, stanza and form in their theme, in the attitude, generally we can say that, you see, developed with the familiar tone of, you see, a speech. Now, we can also say that one aspect of Donne's originality, in fact, is that it gave to the short lyric something of the flexibility, the urgent and expressiveness that came to be developed in dramatic blank verse. Donne's poetry is remarkable for its fusion of passionate feeling and logical argument. Progression by reasoning was nothing new in Elizabethan poetry, but what distinguishes, you see, pay attention, Donne's form, and we can find also, Sydney, this respect is that something, is the subtlety, incisiveness, and range of his thoughts, with a sense that play of intellect tended to become for him an emotional experience. When deeply moved, his mind only worked more rapidly. Thus, parting and consolation lead him to contemporary beliefs about the universe and the scale of beings, the human soul, and nature of matter, to remote astronomical phenomena and malleable properties of gold. But the surprising argument only heightens the feeling. We can find it in, you see, some of his lines, like moving of the earth bring harms and fears. Men reckon what it did and meant, but the predation of the spheres, the greater far as it knows. So now, this is part of the poem of valediction that I will go through it. We can find some of Donne's dialectical acuteness may have derived from his Catholic upbringing and his study of scholastic philosophy, as employment of its concepts led later to the use of the term metaphysical to define his wit and this particular type of conceit. Conceit that is kind of far-fetched, metaphor, something that is not very, as you see, the very usual and ordinary metaphors, a kind of complicated and complex ones. And to extension by Johnson to describe the followers and imitators. Conceits and wit were a recognized part of Elizabethan rhetorical or rhetorics for amplifying a theme. But Donne's characteristic use of them involves such an extraordinary range of ideas and experience with such startling connections between them. And the whole process seems to work at so much higher pressure that in comparison the general Elizabethan use appears superficial. The metaphysical conceit answers to Johnson's account somehow. The most heterogeneous ideas are yoked by violence together. Donne's style was the natural expression of his sensibility, and its originality is reflected in his choice and treatment of subjects, like the pediation of the earth, to present, you see, the love between the lover and his sweetheart, or the husband and his wife when departing. He rejects also the fluency of Spenser's verse and also the decorative use of classical mythology. So he turns, this is again important, from the Petrarchan conventions to analyze the experience of love in a variety of modes, ranging from sensuality to profound sense of union, but always with the same realistic force and eager play of mind. When it turns to religious poetry later in life, there is no change of style or method. The same variety and range of experience are drawn on, and the same dramatic power also expresses his mental conflicts. Throughout, his metaphysical wit was a means of bringing all sides of his experience into relation with the immediate subject. The other, a great formative influence in 17th century poetry was Ben Jonson. It is not so much that, as some older histories of literature used to talk about it, there was a school of Donne and a school of Jonson. Rather, that almost any 17th century poet will show signs of having learned from both, though the proportions and the nature of the blend may differ weakly. Is different. Some modification of the Elizabethan manner is almost equally significant. Even his songs have a great neatness and point. They are more, economical in method, and the best of them achieves a striking sureness of movement. Later on we will talk of, Jonson. Now let us start a valediction forbidding mourning. A very, I think, nice poem by John Donne. And also we will later on talk and go through one of his prose texts. I read the poem once. If you have the source, or wherever it is accessible. You can have a look at it in class or later on. But now, please listen carefully. A valediction forbidding mourning. As virtuous men pass mildly away and whisper to their souls to go, while some of their sad friends do say, the breath goes now, and some say no. So let us melt and make no noise, nor tear floods, nor sigh tempest move, or move. The profanation of our joys to tell the lady of our love. Moving the earth brings harms and fears. Men reckoned what it did and meant. But the pedation of the spheres, though greater far, is innocent. Dull sublunary lovers love, whose soul is sense cannot admit absence because it doth remove those things which elemented it. But we by a love so much refined that ourselves know not what it is, enter assured of the mind, careless, eyes, lips, and hands to miss. Our two souls therefore which are one, though I must go and you not yet, a bridge but an expansion that go to airy thinness beat. If they be two, they are two so, as the stiff twin compasses are two. Thy soul, the fixed foot, makes no show to move, but doth if the other do. And though it in the center sits, yet when the other far doth roam, it leans and hearkens after it, and grows erect as that comes home. Such wilt thou be to me, who must like the other foot obliquely run. Thy firmness makes my circle just, and makes me end where I begun. Yes, this is, you see, the poem A Valediction Forbidding Mourning by John Donne. Now I briefly talk about it. You see, the poem actually is telling about the friends that they are not sure about the moment of their death. So this is a kind of, you see, valediction. We can say that John Donne and his wife on his trip, and they had a lot of, maybe you see, misfortune somehow. That's why we have forbidding mourning, a kind of, you see, crying here. And as it they commonly are sure about the death, but not certain about the time of their death, but they know that they will die someday, and this is the matter of their souls, as talk here, and this is a kind of the belief that people know commonly that they will die, you see, someday, and this is part of their beliefs, their thoughts, and some may say that yes, they will come and the breath will go, and some may say no. Here, in the second stanza, we see that the lovers should part without, you see, tears. It won't be profanity to publish their love to the word, as he says that, so let us melt and make no noise, no tear floods, no side tempest move. It were the profanation of our joy to tell the laity our love. The laity also is from the Latin word, you see, laus, that is like. There is not any religious speciality in, you see, this sense. And here again it continues with the moving of the earth brings harms and fears. Men reckon what it did and meant, but the predation of these fears, the greater for is innocent. It shows somehow Dawn's imagery. The progression is a development of thought, not merely the creation of the emotions. And in this sense, he complains on the nature of their love, like metaphorically, when he uses moving of the earth brings harms and fears. When there is, for example, an earthquake, moving of the earth indicates earthquake. It brings harms and fears. What you see he means here. But this trepidation of these fears, that is the lover and the sweetheart, or John Donne and his wife, this kind of moving is far greater, but basically their love and the way that they love each other, the essence of their love, that he emphasizes it through this metaphoric language, or can say that is moving of the earth or the trepidation, is going to emphatically show the essence of their love. That although it may bring some harms and fears, but their love that is so pure and their love that is so innocent does not bring them any harms or fears. Because they are, as they say, you see, one soul in two different, you see, bodies. In the next stanza that he talked about, those sublunary lovers love, whose soul is sense, cannot admit absence because it does remove those things which elemented it. You see, here we have a distinction between two kinds of love, and the things happen between the lovers. One of them is the earthly love, as here it indicates that dull sublunary lovers love. This is the subject you see to change, because the essence of their love is the physics, that is, you see, the body, that is the senses. The way that they love each other, it belongs to, for instance, say, touching, kissing, the presence. Okay, this is the essence of the earthly love. So when they meet, they admit each other, and when they are not with each other, maybe they will forget their love. And this is the definition of his earthly love, and physical love. But we see that when there is absence, there is no love. When there is presence, there is love. And this is what has composed their love. That is, you see, the sense, the elements of it, the physics the physics and the body, that it shows the features of physical love. But in the following stanza, what is going to happen? What happens here is, but we by a love so much refined, that ourselves know not what it is, enter assured of the mind, careless eyes, lips, and hands to miss. Here, with adding the word but at the beginning of this stanza, in contrast to the previous lines, is going to define and show their love. Here he emphasizes that their love is a pure one, a refined one. They don't know what actually is the essence of this refinement that has been purified. They don't know actually what it is, but it has happened, something in their mind. And their love in this sense is so secure, since they do not think of the body of the lover and the sweetheart. That's why they do not care for the eyes of the sweetheart, or for the lips of the sweetheart, or for touching the hands of the sweetheart, because if they are missed, again, their love will continue, because it is a kind of refined and pure and secure love.